Hi, my name is Michaela Carlin, and I am the host of the Psychedelic Mom Podcast, a podcast that is exploring truth, sovereignty, psychedelics, and earth medicines, and what it means to be human today. The Psychedelic Mom Podcast is not just for moms. It's for anybody who loves the deeper existential questions of life. Like, who are we? What are we doing on this planet? Is this a game? Are we in a simulation? And can psychedelics open my heart and mind to something new? Can they heal me? Can psychedelics heal depression and PTSD and trauma, maybe more effectively than pharmaceuticals? Can they help me become a better parent, partner, leader, or entrepreneur? These are some of the topics I'll be diving into on the Psychedelic Mom Podcast. I'm not your typical psychedelic mom, if there is such a thing. I went down this path some years ago when I became interested in psychedelics to possibly be an avenue for my daughter who was experiencing depression. We weren't in the midst of the psychedelic renaissance, so as it turned out, I wasn't willing to use my daughter as a psychedelic experiment. But if you're a parent who's ever had a child suffer from depression or anxiety, you know that it's a pretty brutal road. I remember at the time feeling that the oxygen had left my house. And so I was down a pretty deep rabbit hole back then when I came across an article about magic mushrooms being some kind of possible solution for depression. Well, as I said, I wasn't willing to use my daughter as a psychedelic experiment, but my interest was piqued for myself, but more because I was interested in the spiritual and evolutionary, transcendent aspects of these medicines after doing so much research. I found myself on a plane finally, writing my own intentions to have my own experience with psychedelic plant medicines. And this took me down a journey that brought me here today, a journey that has had many twists and turns and ups and downs. During my experience with psychedelic plant medicines and partnering with these medicines and in my trainings, what happened was I started to realize that I had repressed memories from childhood and then went down my own deep path of healing. And psychedelic medicines were really part of that path. And now today, I do psychedelic integration work and support others on this path. So the Psychedelic Mom podcast was born out of my own journey, my own story of healing. And also, I was lucky enough on this path to meet some of the brightest entrepreneurs and psychologists who are using plant medicines themselves. And this is a place to share the stories of other mothers and fathers, psychonauts and newbies, visionaries and artists, psychologists and psychiatrists. We'll share the science, the ancient wisdom, and what these medicines can do. We'll look at the practical applications, like, can I use this medicine every day? What is the legality of these medicines? And what about the mystical applications of these medicines? Can I take a medicine and actually meet God and transcend some of my egoic ways of being? We're going to find out on the Psychedelic Mom podcast. We're also going to dive deep into the history of these medicines. Are these plant medicines the reason man evolved into a conscious being in the first place? We're going to find out. And are some of our major faith traditions rooted in these medicines? Another question that we'll be diving into on the Psychedelic Mom podcast. This podcast is definitely not just for mothers. It's for anybody really interested in exploring their full potential. And whether partnering with these earth medicines that have been teachers on this planet for years is maybe a path that they want to go down. We're going to talk about the myths and the truths in the psychedelic space. Are these medicines for everyone? And if not, who are they not right for? And is there a lot of hype in the psychedelic renaissance? This idea that you take one magic pill and you're healed. Poof. Is this true? We're going to find out. And I also want to know what most interests you in this world of psychedelics and earth medicines. I want to know about your path, your ups and downs. As the Psychedelic Mom, I want to bring you stories that expand your edges, expose your limitations, and dive deep into what's the most interesting aspects of your life. As a mother and a woman in the world, we are going to be diving into some juicy topics for women, like what does it look like when a mother steps into her sovereignty and truth? What happens when mothers microdose or head to ayahuasca centers with their daughters and sons? What does that look like? And can these medicines help us shine the light on the cultural, familial, social, political, economic systems that maybe aren't serving all of humanity? And can they give us a path to maybe create different systems? These are some of the topics we'll be diving into on the Psychedelic Mom Podcast. And I'm going to be interviewing people from all walks of life, from scientists and, like I said, psychonauts and newbies and mothers and fathers. And if you're interested in telling your story, please reach out. What we want to do here is find the truth. I always say that psychedelic means soul revealing. And this podcast is really an exploration into how do we live our truth, how do we live in alignment to our soul, and how do we live a more authentic life. Welcome to the Psychedelic Mom Podcast. I'm really glad you're here, and if there are particular topics that you want me to cover, reach out. And remember, you are the medicine for your life, your family, and this world.